Well, Smiles from Black Film TV, talking to Robinne Lee, author of the book, which is now a film, The Idea of You. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Happy to be here with you.
Good. You have to thank the marketing team for letting us know. Otherwise, you'd be like, okay, another rom-com. But then when you say that it's authored by you, based on the book that you wrote, and it's produced by Gabrielle, like, okay, let's get some answers here. How did this come about?
Get some answers. Um, so I wrote a book many years ago now, quite a few years ago. And Gabrielle and I had been very good friends for a while since we did Deliver Us from Eva together back in 2001, I guess. So and we were very close. And when the book was done, I gave her a copy to read an early draft, and it was like, what do you think? And she thought it was amazing. And then fast forward, I don't know, a few months after it was released and published, she introduced me to Kathy Schulman, who's a producer and who was interested in optioning the rights. And that's kind of how that's kind of the very fast version, the short version of how it happened.
Now, is this your only book, or you've written other books before?
It's the first one that I've published. I've been
Okay.
writing since I was young, and I have quite a few stacked away in boxes somewhere. But it's the first one that I've published, and that's out in the world. And so it's kind of really exciting for a debut novel to get this far.
Okay, then obviously Jennifer West, I don't even know how to pronounce the last name. She came in, West, an actress just like yourself, came in and adapted it. Obviously, we've had books turn into films, and we know there's liberties taken because you can't put everything that's in a book in a film.
Absolutely.
How comfortable were you that when obviously it was going through hands and they wanted to make it a movie, you knew or assumed there were going to be changes?
Right. I've been an actress for a few decades now, and so I'm very familiar with how things work in Hollywood. And that the movie is never quite like the book. That adaptations are different, and that they have to be, because books are more cerebral, in which you have time to really get into a character's head in a way that you can't on film. You've got an hour and a half to 2 hours to like condense maybe 400 pages of a story into something that is going to be intriguing and fast-paced enough to keep audiences watching. And so, they made some changes and took some liberties, and they came up with a film that they feel is going to do really well, and it's testing well, and people seem to like it. And so there it is.
Now, I've not read the book. Were the characters in the book Black, or was race not a factor?
There were some characters in the book that were Black. Not
the main characters.
No. I mean, Solène was written as, to me, she was French, but she's French Algerian to me, and he's British, and so those two were never Black characters. You kind of write with different things in mind, and I don't write with actors in mind to play my characters, more just a feel for the person that I'm getting as I'm writing. And so having someone step in and do it kind of like, you allow them the space to kind of inhabit the role and make that character theirs. And I feel like Annie has done a good job with Solène, and Nicholas has kind of inhabited Hayes and made him his own. And so that's what we've got. And they work, and their chemistry is just intense and beautiful and leaps off the screen. And so, yeah.
The advantage is that you have been in this game. You are an actress,
Correct.
So this is your story. So, were you ever given an option as far as, okay, this is who we're going to cast, because this is your book. It's not like you're an author, nobody knows who you are. Obviously this is a great deal. I'm like, no, once they see your name and they see Gabby's name in there, they're like, okay, how did this come about? Like, Black writer, Black author, not to shade anybody. It's like, oh, we got white actors. Was there ever a thought process of like, we want this to be?
I wasn't.
Because there's always the story about, we're getting our lack of our stories and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm totally aware of that. I was not involved with the production at all. Like, once the option, once the rights were sold, it was completely out of my hands. And so they made changes. They made choices, the filmmakers, to make the film the best film they thought they could make, and that would appeal to the widest audience. And widest, not widest, just to clarify. And so that's what they did. I think in the beginning we sat down and we just threw out some names for Solène, and it was a very wide range. It was, you know, but you're also going with like who's right for the part, who's available for the part, who is the right age, because, you know, you start in 1 year and a few years have gone by, and then like everyone's kind of like aged more, and you're like, oh, maybe is she too old? Is she too young? Is she not? Should we wait? And, you know, so you never know. And when Anne got the script, she really responded to it, and she was the right age at the right time, and she wanted to do it, and she was willing to go on this journey. And so she signed on, and things started happening.
Let's go back to the beginning. Where did the story come from?
You know, it came from a bunch of different things. Goodness, I was joking around with my husband one evening about leaving him and our kids and running off with a guy in a band who was about half my age. We joke a lot, and he was like, "You're crazy, but that would make a really good book." And as he said it, it just kind of clicked for me, because I was turning 40 in Hollywood, where I was, you know, in a business where roles kind of, opportunities became fewer and farther between for me. I mean, at 40, if you're not a big star, there's not as much to do. And then the roles that they were seeing me for, just like, they just kind of like, they weren't as multidimensional, they weren't as riveting. And it very quickly became obvious to me that women of a certain age lose value in Hollywood. Hollywood sees them as losing value. And I wanted to like fight back against that. So I wanted to write about a woman who was turning 40 and kind of coming into her own, into her power, and completely like desirable and valuable. And like, and she had this sexual awakening with this, and it's not just a sexual awakening, but it's an awakening, and it's a finding herself, like, and a journey into finding herself. And it happens to be with this relationship with this much younger guy. And years ago, I'd managed a singing group, and one of the producers was one of the new kids on the block, and they were very famous at that time. And so I got to see what life of the boy band was like to a degree, and the kind of the chaos and the fanaticism surrounding them. And so I thought, God, I could do that. I could write that book, and I could make it feel real, because I've had enough experiences that were like either in the book or very similar to the book, and I knew people who were having experiences, and then, you know, I'm exposed to Hollywood, so I knew about the darker side of celebrity. I had friends who were far more famous than when I was, and I was aware of what their, you know, how they move about through the world and what their lives are like, and the bubble that they have to live in, and, you know, how you're kind of protective of them because you don't know who's saying what to the press or whatever, and you kind of keep them kind of sheltered, you know, like you look out for your friends like that in a way, when they're that much in the limelight, they have to have this kind of like secure circle of people. And so obviously I don't want to betray anyone, so it's not their story, but, you know, I kind of took it, and I put it into Hayes Campbell's life. I kind of transferred it all, and that's where the story came from.
We don't have much time, but I just want to say congrats. Obviously, I've been around long enough to say that I have seen Half Plenty.
I know you have, Wilson. I know your work. I know. I'm very excited
enough
to talk to you.
Funny enough, true story. The person who I took to the screening to see that was Malcolm Lee.
Where did you see it? Where did you see it? Like in the theaters or?
In the screening room, way back when it was coming out. So like,
yeah,
I've known your work for a long time. I've seen you. So congrats. For the people who want to know out there, what are we seeing from you next? A book or a movie or a project?
I just finished a project with Christopher Stokes for Tubi called Robin. It's called Robin, but it's not for me, Robin. And and then I've just also finished my next book, and it'll be a while. I'm still doing edits, but that hopefully will be out into the world shortly. So we'll see.
So you got a lot of things going on, which I'm very proud of. So congrats. I'm sure I'll see you or talk to you down the road. Take care.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.